I am well aware that I was, and at times continue to be, the face of the Royal Air Force in recruitment. I feel a responsibility to be able to speak up. Unfortunately, the military has let me down. I lost all faith and all confidence in the military. My favourite ones are all the party ones, so I don't want to show that because it's probably inappropriate and it misses the point, but I think it's quite a nice one. I joined the Royal Air Force in 2012. As a youngster, I've always been interested in aircraft, particularly in the engineering of aircraft. It was a great way for me to give back to a country that's given our family so much, as my parents were effectively refugees from the civil war in Sri Lanka. While working for the Royal Air Force as an officer, I never felt in my early stages of my career that I was treated in any other way differently to the people I served alongside. I joked with my friends often that I almost forget the colour of my own skin because you're in uniform all the time, no one really cares. I really had some of the best times of my life working with some fantastic people. So I was very humbled and excited to be offered the opportunity to take part. I, of course, was fully cognizant of the fact that my heritage brought a bonus for the military, let's just say. The military perhaps isn't as representative of society with regards to the recruitment of ethnic minorities, and this would have been a perfect opportunity for the Royal Air Force to portray an officer on the front line of my heritage. At the time, I felt incredibly proud of the work I was doing. Up until the incident, I idolised the military. Due to the age and the isolation perhaps of the base, especially within the accommodation areas, there had been stories and rumours of violent incidents that had happened in the Falklands. I was on call effectively that evening. It was quite late one Saturday evening, and an army corporal who was unfortunately quite intoxicated was within or near our accommodation area, and I was aware that I couldn't really leave him on his own because I was concerned about where he was going to end up, what he was going to do in that state. So I offered to try and help him find his colleagues or his friends. As I walked away from the individual, for whatever unknown reason, he decided to launch quite a vicious and savage attack on me, effectively jumping on me as I was walking away and putting me in a strangulation hold. I started feeling effectively the sensation of my eyes popping out my head. It felt like my head was exploding from the pressure and there was no air going through my lungs. I couldn't shout or scream, but I managed to realise that by dropping my shoulder in such a way his head would hit the ground first, and after doing it a number of times eventually his grip released and he was thrown off my back. I think unfortunately the military has enough of a reputation to do with incidents involving race that it's very hard to remove that as a factor. And I understand, and being in the courtroom, I know that the defence put a lot of emphasis on how superficial my injuries seemed. It's disheartening that overall it feels like the case wasn't given the seriousness as it perhaps should have done. At that moment after the not guilty verdict, I knew I couldn't continue to serve in an organisation that had allowed that to happen, but also failed to make right. I know very well how close I was to dying. I know very well what the feeling was like to have someone trying to extinguish the very life within you. It's very hard to discount that actually this was a matter they wanted to try and sweep away under the carpet. And it would have been easier to do so if race wasn't a factor. I fear that my case is another example to them to think, well, the military can't do anything. You can be a victim of violent crime. You can take it all the way up to the highest court within the military and still not really receive the justice you felt you deserved.